Welcome back to Archean, episode 9 of the Cargo Challenge. And in the previous episode, I got my shore-based catamaran set up and did the initial alignment with the container. What I'm going to do now is see if I can't align it a little more. And of course, let's always do some construction while we're busy driving around. Looks like I'm out of water too. I was thinking after I made this video, I probably have another seat in the back. Yeah. Figure I kind of scrim it over. I don't have crab walk on this thing. So I'm hoping just to kind of get it in the right spot and hit the brake and kind of lock it in there. I'm going, well, that's not really working out so well. Double checking I actually support brakes, which I do. So that's key 4. So I sit here and try a little bit more, and then I realize, I just need to dampen the input controls down a bit so I have more fine control of movement here. Because just trying to roll it and hit the brake at the right time is not working out. One of the advantages of writing the code yourself is, in theory, understand it so you can make quick little changes like this on the fly. I'll just take accelerate and I'll just dampen it down to 10%. Temporary line of code. Now something a little more permanent would have some type of toggle or switch. Either a physical toggle or some UI element on the screen that puts it down, shifts it down to like crawl mode, I guess you would call it. At the same time, you gear it down, so drop the gearing all the way down and then reduce acceleration and call it crawl mode. And now I can definitely much easier getting it locked in. Looks almost perfect. Now what we need to do is we need to connect it, and to do that, now the docking port on the cargo unit is armed, but the one I have is not armed because it has no power. So one, I have to give it power. And so here I'm going to kind of play with this and get it right down as close as I can. Not really sure what distance is supported. But the what I don't want to do is have it, say the distance was a meter. I don't want it shooting across and docking hard because that would increase the G impact on the cargo unit. And we're trying to minimize the G rating impact. So I want to do it nice and gentle here. One thing I discovered playing around with the manual value is that the value changes as you type. So if I hit, like in case of negative 1.31, the minute I hit negative 1, it moves. Then I hit 3, it moves. And I hit 1, it moves. And in this case, it doesn't really hurt anything, but other cases, it could hurt something. If you're trying to type something and you overdrive it. And here I'm trying to, once again, I don't want to put too much G-rating or move the cargo unit too quickly, so I dampen down the linear track speed and acceleration because I'm running it on servo mode. All right, so he looks like we got it lined up. That's pretty darn close. I can sit there and play around with additional hundreds, but I think that's overkill. Now this is weird. It has 2 data ports on here, which kind of interesting. So it appears one data port is for, I don't know, information and whatnot. I just looked at the wiki and it just has, you know, you can query one property, is it armed or not? And you can query, and you only set one property, arm it or not arm it. So I'm not sure what the other, oh. Okay, I think I misread those. Those are for transferring data communications from one whatever on the other side of the matching docking port through. Oh, okay. I just see this first time I use a docking port. Because the whole purpose of docking port, well, I'm using it just to carry, but the primary use is you connect to something, you can transfer power, data, and fluids across that port. And thus, if you had, you know, a drone connect somewhere, it can automatically charge up and move fluids. So it go off to the ocean and gather up seawater, and which is just H2O. Bring it over and dump it off and go back and forth like that. And that's a docking port. And so the one that I connected to, that's the one that actually drives the arming and non-arming. So when I actually connect power up to the docking port, that was not required to do that. Like, that is not required because, so apparently it will dock without power, obviously. And I did that. All that's going to do is transfer power down into the cargo container if it actually consumes, it has that port connected or that low voltage connection done. So in the next video, I'll just remove that red cable I just added. Oh, that all makes sense now. So what I'm staring at is I armed it, but it didn't connect. So my thought was the minute I armed it, it would just snap together and boom, we're connected. But it didn't, and I don't understand why that doesn't happen. Now when I move this, it connects. And unfortunately, we took a little bit of G hit. Not too much, but a little bit of G hit. And what happened is when I attempted to move the linear track up, I just wanted to move a little bit. But as I said before, the minute I said -1, it jumped to the 1 position. And I wasn't able to get the 0.3 in, and just to get it, or 0.2, just to get it to move a little bit. And so it jumped up from 0.31 up to 1. And that little jerk, even unfortunately I damped it down, gave it a little G hit. So that's something else. So, and what happened was the movement, because the track was moving, it didn't connect it. So apparently you have to have some movement for the dock to occur, which typically is probably not a big deal, but in my case I kind of lined it up. I'm not kind of hung up on the other docking container. That's because the whole thing kind of shot up when it bounced, which I did not want to do. I was trying to avoid that. Now, if I did it through code, then I could control that value. So be careful with the manual value if it's a critical operation like that. So I didn't take too big a hit on the other one. It's fine. All right, so we learned some things about, at least I learned some things about docking ports. And we learned about, you want to do tight maneuvers, you want to cut down your acceleration. And for speed, I probably should use a formatting. For speed, I can do like, brace 0.0 close brace. That way you don't have all the little precision digits floating around like that. Okay, so getting a little better at this. Bring it around. What I'm just doing here is just trying to get it in position to be a little closer to the base. I'll leave it on shore for now. What I was thinking about doing is put in that lever type switch, pull lever, I think it's called, and use that to control, like, to dampen the speed. So if it's like all the way up, you have a 1-to-1 from the keyboard input directly to the engines. You move it all the way down, it's like 10% or something like that. So you kind of like adjust it if you want to kind of dampen down the inputs even further. Okay, so we got a problem here. It's getting ready to become nighttime, and which means these solar panels ain't gonna do nothing with the next 12 hours or so. But I already made them, so I'll go ahead and drop them on. I don't know if I have enough battery power to get me the 300 kilometers distance I need to get away. We'll have to find out. So one strategy is just sit here for 12 hours and wait for dawn to hit before I go off. And that makes sense in some ways, because then I now have solar power and I can see where I'm going. Or, which is what I'm going to do, and I put it in the wrong place. To the heck with this, I'm just going to go anyway, see how long the batteries last, possibly make additional batteries if I have to, and worst comes to worst, I'll just pull over somewhere, set up a geothermic unit running, and recharge the batteries at night. And then once they charge up, then I just keep on going on my trip. So we'll have to see what happens. I have no concept of how long this thing's going to keep going, or how fast it goes, and how far we can cover 300 kilometers or not. And it's not just 300 kilometers and go back on shore. So in this video, I'm just going to spend time doing construction. And so if you don't like watching somebody build something, then probably worth cutting off now. The next video will be some programming, which I haven't done yet. So the next video I'll do programming, and then so this video will put up the solar panels, which will be useful for the next 30 game minutes, I guess, before it gets dark. More for completeness than anything else. And then I'll put the props on and get the props all wired up and named and all that. And then that'll be the end of this video. And the next video I'll have in theory, the vessel all ready to go. I just need to, what I'll do is I'll use a different hard drive. I'll copy the vehicle code and I'll just paste it into a new hard drive for sort of boat mode. Then I'll kind of hack it a little bit. Then I'll verify everything works the way I expect it to do while I'm in the ocean. And then I'll just turn around, pop the vehicle hard drive back in, drive it in the ocean, and then pop the boat hard drive in and start motoring away. Now the props will be on a linear track. They will be raised while on land, and I will, in this case, I'll just manually drop them down once I'm in the water. I won't, it's not like it's that hard to coat them and raise them, but we're just not going to bother doing that. But it'll lower them down, and they will have steering. So there'll be a linear track for vertical movement, and then we'll have a pivot so I can steer them. So I'll have 360-degree steering. Not sure if physically I have 360. I'm not sure if I'll fully implement that or not. I don't think I need 360 right now. And then and then you're ready to go. So, and I'll put two props. I have one prop I'll be two props in the back, one on the end of each pontoon. I consider putting two more props on the front pontoons, and if I'm steering, I can do sort of the quad steering type mechanism and spin in place in theory. And then if I'm motoring, I'll just have them all go in the same direction and have four going. So, but I only got two. It takes a while to build all that crap. And so I decided, I'll just start with two. We'll see how two goes. If two becomes a problem. Now, what I can do if two is not enough oomph, I can just put another prop next to the other one. And then I'll just have to put junctions in there and, divvy the power out and all that. So I'll have them two side by side. That way I don't have to worry about, I wouldn't need an additional linear track or pivots and all that. So here I'm checking all the stuff I need. That's the reason why I have 4 tracks and 4 pivots, because originally I planned to put 4 props, 2 in the front, 2 in the back, all on tracks, all on pivots. And if this is a more permanent vessel, then I would go with that. Trying to think where I'm going to put this thing. I could put it in the back. I put it on the side, right in the end on the side there. I always pick the wrong one. Nope. Yep, that's the one I do. Unfortunately, components are not replicated. Just kind of figure out what I want to do here. If I made the pontoons bigger, then the fancy solution is the wheels would rotate up into the hull. I actually have test code that the wheel would actually it rotates up and then gets pulled in, and thus it's if you look at it from the front of the ship, you will not see the wheels. They'll be completely enclosed in the body. Although there's not an outer hatch on that version, it just pulls it in. If you look at amphibious crafts that exist in the real world, all the ones I've seen, the wheels pull up and kind of get pushed into the hull a little bit. They have a little cavity in there, and it gets pushed into the hull just so it's not really dragging on the water. But there's no enclosure or hatch or anything like that. You still see the wheels sitting there. They just get pulled up on the side of the hull. So it's like they're not in the water, or they're in the water, but they're not causing any excessive drag. Obviously, you don't have a smooth hull, but it's better than leaving them sticking out. I think that's the reason why I kind of like that design, because you look at the side and you see the wheel in there kind of sideways, because it rotates 90 degrees and then pulls it into a slot in the side there. And then the other part would be have the engine inside the hull, and then it extends out underneath with a 360 pivot, and then pulls back up. But that would require, because the track's big, it would require a much bigger hull for that. So I need to do something that fancy. I just need to make the Catamaran hull much larger than what I have here. And then with the much larger, you can cover the top, put all the wiring inside, and the whole top will just cover solar panels. So it should be wide enough to have 2 rows of solar panels across the top there. And then with all the crap inside, that will give you a nice clean surface for solar power. All right, so here's the pivot. So I brought it out a little bit. And see, I can't pivot the way I want to. So at least as far as I know, like I can, if you hold down this shift, you change like the orientation, but I need like additional movement. I don't want to go a certain direction. So I end up just putting some temporary blocks up so I can do that. I'm still working on getting better at building. See, I want it sticking out. Right? That, yeah. So I finally go, okay, I put that there, and now I got what I want. There. So I have the ports on the inside. Now we can put our prop on there. And we don't need that. I can probably take the spool for items and for liquids and just put those back in my inventory. I don't need those on my toolbar. And then we'll kind of line this up, hit the X to kind of get it centered on that piece. Like right, yep. Yeah. Okay, so that, no, it's a little too, well, actually it's fine like that. Just kind of looking at it and going, no. That track should be long enough to dump it in the water, get it below the surface there so we don't have the thing spinning around. Oh, one thing I didn't do in this video, I didn't change the size of the prop, so I probably should make them smaller, which should make them better in water. I guess there to hit V, there's like a thrust rating or so. So maybe what I could do is when I write the code in the next video, this time I'll pull the thrust information out. And what I can do, I can make the props different configurations and then watch it and watch the thrust, and whichever has a better thrust ratio for the amount of power I'm giving it, just change the other one to match. Obviously, it will spin a little bit, but that way I kind of work out a good thrust for the configuration for the props. So we're like A/B testing. Then once I find that, and I can change something else. If the change increases the thrust, then I can mirror it to the other one. If it reduces the thrust, then I take it back out and try something else. So okay, so this is that thing before where I go, okay, now I gotta back up and so get that. What I did this time is I kind of just did a block and see how big it is, and then I don't have to look at the bottom when well, did that make sense? I just use normal blocks, lay it out, count the blocks, and then when I get close to the actual track, I just watch the size of the thing I'm making. And I'm looking back and forth just to make sure they look the same. Not that it really matters. As long as they're close, functional wise, it's going to be good enough. I got it. It's fine. And just like that. I gotta put a little block off that. And it just gets stuck on there. I didn't bring it out any further. As I said, I don't really need super maneuverability. I just need to kind of avoid hitting land masses, and then when I do want to get done, then to find that sort of a shallow area and kind of roll up on it. And it actually works out if I only have the rear props that are lowered, put in the wrong spot. That's actually a better spot. I should just lower the other one down. It puts it slightly lower in the water. Okay, so I have two moving components. That means I'm going to need two power bridges, high and low, and I need two data bridges. One set is for the prop and one set is for the pivot because it's all riding on a track. Trying to figure where to don't come too far away. Now you can actually use multiple bridges, so I guess I could put a bridge here and then put a bridge on the pivot area and sort of like keep the cable really close, but I'm not going to do that. And the other thing is build an enclosure. So if I had one that dropped down, have it like a larger enclosure, you can have all the wires hidden inside that. For the advanced build. And as before, you have to name the bridge. So the bridge will be named prop rear left to right, and the pivot will be called prop pivot left to right. And then those on the other side of the bridge will be connected to a router. One of the mini routers I already have. As I go on, I get more and more silly with the wiring. I actually didn't like calling it prop pivot. I was trying to think of a better name. Because I guess I called the engine prop engine and prop pivot so that you sort of have this double naming consistency. Yeah, and I'm gonna fly over here, double check. Yep, that's what I had. This is why I didn't want to put all 4 props on and do all this stuff. What I can do is just put an extension on that prop, put another prop next to it, and rewire it with junctions, and voila, we have 4 props. That looks interesting. And this is the rear left. I'm going to speed up this next section when I'm just wiring. Okay, we're always hitting at 5x. So what I need to do here, I need to, wire up the power both for the engine and for the pivot. Now the pivot is low voltage, so I'm going to put down another power converter, another low power junction, wire all that up, and then run data cables all the way across to both, put them on the router. And once I do all that, I'll go on the other side and do the same thing. And then of course I have the solar panels that are wired up, and they provide a little bit of trickle right now. And build some more junk, so I'll do the same thing. I mirror it pretty close. Although it's interesting doing this, it gives me a lot of things to plan for a future larger version. And then we're going to make some stuff. make a lot of diodes. And I was gonna make another light because I know it's gonna get dark. All right, so we're getting close to getting ready to mosey out. So I'm gonna go over here and nothing in there, of course, and just top off the useful ores in my tank. Interesting that the search bar in my crafting carried over to the container. Not really sure if that's considered a feature or a bug. And what I'm doing is gathering up any useful stuff here. We have plenty of silicon, so when we go off and we have to make something, we got plenty of resources to build something. I think concrete consumes quite a bit of silicon, but then you need the hydrogen or oxygen one too. So you go through a lot of water to build it. So build a lot of concrete, you're gonna want a crafting machine. And we are watching the other thing too. I'm just planning on making an additional battery if I need to. Now I could steal the battery off the rover and steal the battery off the base, but I'm not going to do that. I'm putting some lights on. I'm just going to put a toggle switch next to them. I'm not going to wire them up to the computer. I think these are the first lights I've ever used in this game so far. Because typically if you start the game, you have 12 hours of real time to daylight, so you don't have to worry about stuff like that. And then I generally restart before then. So we'll give them some power. We'll tap into here. Figure I put another converter in power junction on the other side. Trying to avoid nesting the power converters. The power junction, should I say. So give us a little switch. So there's a conversation that if you want to make the lights brighter, there's a setting. I'm not sure if it's a configuration or it's a soft setting by code that you increase the amount of power it uses, so you make them a lot brighter with the cost of additional power being sucked down. So if you're on a base with lots of power, then those lights can really, make the place bright. I haven't actually tried that. Connect that to there. Yeah, one thing I was thinking about, do I need a terrain radar? Because if it gets dark, how much can I see? It's sort of like a moonlight. I can can I see enough to see, the shoreline? Or is it pitch black and I'll just be running into everything? Guess we'll find out. I've not played, actually that's something else I haven't done. I never played the game at night. Because if you're in creative mode, you can just, change the time. And for those who don't know, you hit the enter key and you get a prompt. And so you hit the enter key, hit /help, and you get some commands you can do. If you have permission, if you're a single player, you have permission to do it. If you're on a server, then only admins can make those kind of changes. Okay, we need another hard drive. So kind of trying to get everything made before beginning of the next episode. We're ready to go. We just have to write the code, make sure that it works. It shouldn't be that hard to do that. We'll just kind of set copy over, rename some things, and rename wheel to prop, and we have to split the steering out. But that shouldn't be too bad. And then check the steering, make sure the steering going in the right direction and all that, because now we're using pivots, and they're kind of weird. Okay, we're at the end of this episode. I'm moving back for my thumbnail snapshot. Until next time, see ya.